My formula looks exactly like when I've substituted. And this is quite important. You can't have the formula looking way differently when you are done substituting it. So only for substituting this, you will get a lot of marks. Okay? And now putting this into your calculator, please take the time to put it into your calculator and double check me. The answer here will be 1,926,831.5. Everything was in millimeters, and because it is outer surface area, my answer comes to squared millimeters. Right. Now let's do the new one. And you may pause the video now, let the learners do the new one, and then just play it afterwards so that they can then see if they have done it correctly. So again, starting with brackets 2 multiply by pi, which is 3,142, multiply by radius. And we are working with a new geyser now. So the new geyser's diameter is 550, but the radius is also 275. So I put 275. And I need to put my 2 there, please. Closing the brackets. Add 2. Bracket open. 2 multiplied by pi is 3,142. Multiply by radius, 275. Multiply by the length. What is the length there? The length is 1,470. And I close my brackets. When I get that answer, it gets me to 3,15,534,5. Everything was in millimeters and it is squared millimeters. Now we need to state if it is true. He said that this is twice the size of that. So what can we do? We can just multiply this by 2. Or we can divide this one by 2. It doesn't really matter. For now, I'm going to multiply this one by 2. So multiplying by 2 will get me to 3,853,663 squared meters. Millimeters, sorry, squared millimeters. Is it twice the size? No, this is still less. So we are saying, no, he is incorrect. And there we go, just like that. So that will earn you 1 mark according to your calculation that was done there. Right. 3.1.4. Calculate the capacity of the 200-liter geyser. Round off your answer to the nearest liter. And here they are giving me the volume formula just to use. Right, so let's write down. Volume equals pi times radius squared times length. Right, and they are asking me for the 200-liter geyser. So I'm working with this one here. Radius of 275 and a length of 1,470. So let's fill this in. Pi is 3,142 multiplied by the radius is 275. Remember your 2. Multiply by the length is 1,470. Do you see the formula looks exactly as when I'm substituting it? It doesn't look different. Concentrate when you are working like this. Okay? Putting that into my calculator, and my answer comes to 349,292,212,5. Everything was in millimeters. My answer comes to cubed millimeters. But that isn't how I want my answer. I want my answer in liters. So what do I do now? Oh, that's easy. There is a small little tip for me. I can convert to liters if I have it in cubed centimeters. But this isn't in cubed centimeters. This is in cubed millimeters. So now I'm going to teach you a very important lesson that was already taught to you, but just for in case, I'm going to show you it again. I'm going to the bulkies from Mr. Snyder's, but you see, I'm working with cubed, and I'm going to cubed centimeters now. So going from millimeters to centimeters, we'll say divide by 10. But this is not normal millimeters and centimeters. This is cubed millimeters and centimeters, meaning that this is happening, right? So I need to let it happen at the division part as well as at the multiplication part. So I can't just divide by 10, but I'll rather divide by 10 and a 3. So I will say divide by 10 and a 3. So how do I punch it in? Let's say 3.142 multiply by 275. Remember your 2 multiply by 1417. So there is your number, right? Now I can only say divide by 10 and the small little 3. And now when I get to my answer is 349,292,2125, and that is cubed centimeters. And now I can use the tip to say, okay, now we can convert to liters. Converting to liters will get me by dividing by 1,000. Dividing by 1,000, my answer is 349,292,125 liters. They are stating I need to round it off to the nearest liter. So again, will this become 349 or will it become 350? It will most definitely become 349 because of that 2 there. It is not large enough to make it 350. So the answer is 349 liters. And there we go. Right. Do you see? There's quite a few steps that is being used there. Right. Enough of some area and volume. Let's have a look at some circumference and perimeter sums. Going to circumference and perimeter. And before we continue, let me just quickly have a look if this thing is still recording. Yes, we are now almost at an hour's time and we are basically halfway. Okay, so let's continue. Continuing, we say Unati bought a house. 2 of the walls in one of the bedrooms was not plastered. The dimensions of the floor of this bedroom is 4.8 meters by 3.5 meters. Again, we are talking about the word dimensions, okay? And dimensions meaning length by breadth by height, always in that order. So this will be the length and this will be the breadth. Oh, here it is also. So this part here is how wide the room is, and this part here is how long the room is. As shown in the diagram below, yes, this is what we just done. With a wall height of 2.75 meters. Oh, okay. So the height of the wall is 2.75 meters. So this wall here, if we are looking at it in this way, it is 2.75, and this wall here will be 2.75. Do you see the notes that I make myself when I'm reading the question? I assume you are doing the same, right? Okay. So there's a lot of information. What are they asking? Let's just see. Okay, this is the unplastered wall. This is the unplastered wall. There's the picture of it. Quite nice. There's the ceiling. There's the cornices, the unplastered wall. Okay, lovely. Let's have a look at the question. They are starting the question by saying calculate, and we know calculate meaning to make some calculations. Calculate in squared meters, so that means everything I put in must be in meters, and I'm going to calculate the area here. Calculate in squared meters the total outer surface area of the 2 walls that must be plastered. You can use the following formula. Wonderful, and they give me a formula. But the thing here that we need to focus on is This is a length times width, meaning I'm doing one wall with this. And they are explicitly stating 2 walls. And the picture is also showing 2 walls. So I'll do the one wall, I'll do the other wall, and then the word total gives it away by saying we should add it together. I'm going to name this wall number 1 and this wall number 2. So let's start. Wall number 1. Area equals length multiplied by breadth or by width. Yeah, let's say we're not technical, but basically it's the same thing, okay? Right, so the length of the wall is basically this part here. We say 3,5. And the width of the wall, or in this case, the height of the wall, is 2,75 meters, right? Everything is in meters, so my answer will come in meters. And when I multiply that, 9,625, everything is in meters. It is area, so it is squared meters. Let's do the second wall. Area equals length multiplied by width. And we say length is 4,8 multiplied by the width, or the height in this case is 2,75. If I multiply that, I get to 13,2. Everything is in meters and it is squared meters. Right. Now, again, focusing on the total, that means I should add the one wall with the other wall. And when I add these 2 walls, I get to the answer of a total wall coverage of 22,83 squared meters. Right. Okay. Yeah, let me rather do this. I'm not going to round off. Let's do the right thing. And we say the answer here is 22,825 squared meters. Okay. You can round it off if you'd like, but there's a reason why I didn't round it off. Let me show you. Going on to the next question, 3.2.2. The plaster on the wall has a uniform thickness, meaning that all over it is the same thickness. The thickness is 12 millimeters. Determine in cubic centimeters. So cubic meaning volume. Centimeters meaning everything I put into the formula should end up in centimeters. The volume of the plaster needed to plaster these 2 walls. Okay, and here they give me the formula. The formula says the area of the walls, yes, that was done there, multiplied by the thickness of the plaster. Yes, that is done there. But see, the problem is the answer must come out in centimeters. My answer here is in meters, and this thing here is in millimeters. So I need to do 2 conversions, okay? First conversion, 22,825 meters. I need to convert that to not squared meters, but rather squared centimeters. So again, back to Mr. Snyder's notes, I'm going from meters to centimeters. But it's not normal meters and centimeters. It is squared centimeters and squared meters, meaning that I can't only divide and multiply by 100. I need to multiply by 100 and a 2. So I will say multiply by 100 and a 2. Putting that into my calculator, I'll put 22,825 multiply by 100 and a 2. Do you see? Just like that. Get my answer. 228,250 squared centimeters. Okay, right. Now the first conversion is done. The second conversion is 12 millimeters. I need to take that to centimeters, but luckily that's normal millimeters and centimeters. So from millimeters to centimeters, we will be just dividing by 10. Dividing by 10, that will get me to a 1,2 centimeters. Okay, first conversion done, second conversion done. Let's do the calculation. The volume is the area of the 2 walls, 228,250 multiplied by the thickness of the plaster, which is 1,2. This is in centimeters, this is in centimeters. My answer will come out in centimeters. 273,900. Everything is in centimeters. It is volume, so it is cubed centimeters. Right. If you know your units, and if you are familiar with this sum will be smooth sailing for you. Okay, right. Let's see what the sum holds. The next one, 3.2.3. The plaster is available in bags. One bag is needed for each 15,000 cubic centimeters. Determine the minimum number of bags needed to plaster this wall. So how big is the wall? The wall is big, 273,900. I'm writing it here, 273,900 cubic centimeters. And I need to see how many bags. So one bag is worth, so I'll divide it by 15,000 cubic centimeters. And you can do that cross multiplication if you'd like. It doesn't really matter. But the answer comes out as 18.26 bags. Okay, but you can't go into Boulders and tell that people, okay, people, load 18 bags onto my trolley, and then the last bag you just put out some or just scoop out some cement for me or plaster for me. They won't do that. So what is the amount of bags you will need to buy from the store to be able to plaster this wall? Most definitely 19 bags. Because if you buy 18 bags, this is the piece you will be missing. So you won't have enough to plaster the wall. So that will not be the minimum. The minimum is 19. Minimum meaning the least amount of bags, but with you still being able to plaster the wall. Okay. From measurement, let's see the last sum here. 3.2.4. Unati also like to have the old cornices in the bedroom where the four walls meet the ceiling replaced. Calculate in meters. Calculate in meters the total length of the new cornices. Now, people, that is the cornices and it goes right around the room. Okay, so she is wanting to calculate the length. The length is, or the perimeter of this room is the length around the room. So we will just use this formula by saying 2 multiplied by the length of the room is 4,8, added with the width of the room, which is 3,5, close that up. So the perimeter of that room, or the circumference of, and the circumference is for a circle. So perimeter of that room will end up as 16,6 meters worth of cornicing. But do they ask me to round here? Unati likes to have the old cornices in the bedroom where the four walls meet the ceiling replaced. Calculate in meters the total length of the new cornice. Oh no, they are not asking me to round, so I leave it as is. And that is enough for them to fix the whole room. Okay, do you see? When I done with my sum, I just go back to the sum and make sure, do I need to round? Do I need to let it be in a certain unit? And see, meters, meters, there we go. And it is in the same unit. All right. So that is this for some measurement. Let's work on some maps and plans. Okay. Now, maps and plans is quite nice. I heard a little birdie. I don't know if you have what do you call it, geography. But if you have geography, you are writing on Tuesday, right? So geography is also a map work subject. So we are doing some geography right now as well. You know, sometimes you think subjects is in isolation, but it is not at all. Some subjects really overlap. For example, map work in geography. the conversions we done here is also the same conversions that is being done in your consumer studies, etc. So have an open mind when you are writing this paper. Okay, let's have a look. Topic 2, maps, plans, and models. We are working with scales here. We are working with some maps here. Sorry, just like this, maps. And we are working with some floor plans here. Right. So let's have a look. Kriel traveled to Robertson, a town in the Western Cape, during the school holidays to visit his auntie Nini. A part of the map of Robertson that Kriel used for his journey is shown below. Study the map and use it to answer the questions that follow. Okay, right. So here's a lovely map. Oh yeah, I see where north is. And that is that. So let's see what they are asking me. 4.1.1. Name the road that passes through Robertson Winery and Robertson Wine Valley. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, there's Robertson Winery. Oh, there's Robertson Wine Valley. So what is this road called that is passing through? Most definitely the R60. See? Quite easy, isn't it? And this is an exact example of what question 1 would look like. 4.1.2. Determine the general direction towards Robertson Small Hotel from, this is very important, from the Cedar Lodge Guest House. Okay, so we are looking for the general direction, meaning we should work with this. Now, do you see north is going that way? I don't like it. North must head always up. So now I say, never ever smoke weed. Never ever smoke weed. There we go. That is now the compass that we are working with. And we need to find Robertson Small Hotel and we need to find Cedar Lodge Guest House. Where's that? Cedar Lodge Guest House. Here is Cedar Lodge Guest House. And we are looking for Robertson Small Hotel. Oh, there we go. Robertson Small Hotel. Okay, there we go. There's the 2. Now, from which one do we start? Look at this word here. From Cedar Lodge Guest House. So meaning we are starting here and we are working in a direction to there. I'm taking, and we are always working not from the words but from the symbol. Okay? We are working in this direction here. Now, in what direction do you think it is? I always put my pen down and we say, okay, there's west, there's east. I take the pen exactly like it is and put it over there. Do you think that is most definitely west? No, I think it is more to the south part. So how do we say? We can't write west. So we will say it lies between those two. And which one do you say first? We always say south or north first, and then secondly the west and the east. So in this case, we will say southwest. The Robertson Small Hotel lies in a southwesterly direction. So we can just say southwest, and just like that. Or you can write it out. It doesn't really matter. 4.1.3. Name 2 shops on the map where shopping can be done. Okay, now we are looking at some shopping. Okay, so I see there is a shopping bag, there is a shopping trolley, there is another shopping trolley. So I'm looking at shops. So I will say the one that is most definitely known to me will be Checkers, and the other one will be Superspar. So please refrain from stating all of it because they only specifically asked for 2. So keep with what they are asking you to do. Right. Now, let's have a look at the next question. The next question, 4.1.4, says, Kriel arrives in Robertson at 11:03. Write down the time that Kriel arrives in words. Right. So now, First thing is, tell me what time format is this? It's most definitely 24-hour format. Why can I say that? Because there's no AM and PM next to the time format. So I know that is 24-hour format. Now, they want me to write it down in words. So here comes the trick. Everyone know it is 3 minutes past 11. But the trick is now when? Is it in the evening? Is it in the morning? When is it? So we know this is 3 minutes past 11 in the morning. And this part is the very important part. It's the part that we mostly forget and we lose our marks. So please remind yourself and be aware of this. Okay, 4.1.5. Identify the type of map. So people, I will say this is a route map. If you have any other name, please check it with your educator because this is actually showing me the route towards some other places. So this is a route map. Okay, let's go away from a route map a bit more towards a floor plan. Looking at the floor plan here, again, we are with Mr. Sweetmilk, and he owns a house. The floor plan of this house is shown below. Now, here I can see a floor plan, and some other time ago they asked in an NSC paper, from where are you viewing this floor plan, or from what view is this? So we can only say that this is a top view. We are viewing it from the top. Okay. Now, let's see what are they asking me. They are asking me 4.2.1, determine the number of windows on the east view of the floor plan. Now I can see a lot of windows happening here, but we must only focus on the east wing. Again, there my north is now, but now as it is to the top, and that is how I like it. So I just leave it like that, and we say never ever smoke weed. And there we go. We are looking at the east side of this wall. And how many windows do you see on the east side of the wall? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 windows. And there we go. See again, this is a beautiful example of something that can happen and can be asked within the first question. Do you see? Quite easy, isn't it? And we always start your questions easy and we work it more difficult. 4.2.2. Write as a simplified ratio the number of doors to the number of windows on the floor plan. Okay, so a ratio is always what is mentioned first in the sentence is written first. What is mentioned second in the sentence is written secondly. Now, they are asking me for the number of doors. So let's quickly count the doors. Counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you counting 8 doors with me? 8 doors. Let's count the number of windows. Counting windows. 1, 2, 3, 4 windows. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 windows. Do I count any more windows? No. Okay, there we go. 8 doors, 10 windows. So in that order, we say 8 to 10. But now they're asking me to do a simplified ratio. Now with a simplified ratio, I only go to my calculator and I say 8 over 10. And this is a calculated trick to get it as a simplified ratio. So the simplified is 4 to 5. Please, people, don't write this as a fraction. We are busy with ratios, so you need to write it down as a ratio. Right. Okay, 4.2.3. Mr. Sweetmilk claimed that the perimeter of the floor plan is 45.06 meters. So again, looking at perimeter, this is what he's calculating. And I've just done that in the previous one as well. So now they're asking me to explain the word circumference or explain the word perimeter in the given context. So I have just in the previous example very nicely explained to you what a perimeter is. Please take a moment and write down the definition for perimeter in the given context. If you need any more time, please take a moment to pause the video now and write down, because I will now give the answer. And the answer is the length around the house will be the perimeter. It is the distance or the length around the house. That is what we call the perimeter. 4.2.4. Select from the options below the correct unit that can be used for the area of the master bedroom or for calculating the area of the master bedroom. So there's the master bedroom, and the area can be defined as calculating the length multiplied by the breadth, so calculating the area. So it is the space that is taken up by a 2D form, for example, the bedroom. Right. So if we are calculating that, in what format will we calculate it? Very nicely explained to you previously. We said the answer is B, squared meters, because the length is in meters, the width is in meters. So when I calculate an area, my answer always comes out as squared meters. B. Just a quick tip for you. Let's quickly have a look here. When we calculate the perimeter or the circumference, we need to circumference. Okay, when we need to calculate the perimeter or the circumference, my answer always comes out in millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer. It is a very plain, basic calculation. When we are calculating the area, my answer always comes out as squared millimeters, squared centimeters, squared meters, squared kilometers, because when calculating area, I'll always say length times breadth. Okay, that is why it's a 2, because 2 measurements makes up the area. When we are calculating volume, it is cubed millimeters, cubed centimeters, cubed meters, cubed kilometers, because length multiplied by breadth multiplied by height. This answer is made up of three lengths or three measurements. And then the outer surface area is also connected with the word area, meaning it will come out as squared millimeter, squared centimeter. So please be reminded of this. Right. Let's have a look at some more maps. The maps we are working with now is at 4.3. Northwest is the 6th largest of the 9 provinces in South Africa. It has an area of 40,495 square miles. This is quite weird, miles. A population of about 4.1 million people as of 2021. About 3.6% of the people in the Northwest Province live in Potchefstroom and the surrounding areas. The rest of the people live in the rural parts of the province. The map of the province shown in Annexure A, use the map, the map of the province is shown in Annexure A. Use the map and the given information to answer the following questions. Let's go and have a look. Where's that map? There we go. Annexure A. There your map is. Right. Okay. So mine is basically printed on a A4 page where both of these are on as it was sent to you. So if your page is like this, then our calculations with measurements will be true. If it is not printed like this, please then refer to your teacher to help you with the measurements because ours will not be the same there. Okay, but let's take it when it comes there. Okay, so write down the name of the town farthest to the southwest of Mafeking as shown on the map. Okay, let's have a look. Where's Mafeking? There's Mafeking. Okay, and there is our compass, north. And it's again to the top, and that is how we like it. There's the rest. Never ever smoke weed. There's our compass. And now we say we need to go for the furthest southwest. So southwest will be in that direction there. And the furthest town we find there is the town Kuruman. Kuruman. And there we go. See, again, starting your questions with an easy one. And then we are going to a more difficult with levels. 4.3.2. Use a ruler. Everyone, get your ruler, please. And now, see if your page is printed like mine is, or if it's printed otherwise. If it's printed otherwise, ask your teacher to also make the measurements and double check with you, with her or with him. And then, if you don't have that luxury now, please double check with a classmate or someone that is watching with you in this video. Okay, so they're asking use a ruler to measure the distance as the crow flies, meaning a straight line, from Lichtenberg to Tong. Give your answer in millimeters. So I need to use the millimeter part to measure my distance. So I'm going to look for these two towns. Lichtenberg, there we go. Tangun, there we go. Okay, again, where do I measure from? I measure from the middle of the symbol to the middle of the symbol. So now, taking my ruler, and I'm going to zoom in to make this easy for us. There we go. Okay, please have a look with me now. Okay, do you see? I don't put my rulers like this, or some people just put it like that, and then they think they can measure. Okay, line this line very nicely up on the middle of that one, and I overlap it a bit. That's why I like using a see-through ruler. And I go to the middle of that board there. And what do you get there? So there's the middle of that one there, and there it ends up there. So that is 10, 20, 30 millimeters, 40 millimeters, 50 millimeters. That's 55, 56, 57, 58. Yes, that is that. 58 millimeters. So I'll be writing. My answer is 58 millimeters as the crow flies. Right. So do you see, if we are measuring very neatly, very nicely, very thoroughly, very calmly. Okay. So let's look at the next question, 4.3.3. Use the scale on the map to calculate the actual distance in kilometers between these two towns. Did you see a scale on this map? Yes, I see a scale. First things first, what do you call this scale that is given here? We call it a bar scale. Or we can call it a graphical scale. I don't know if you call it that, but a bar scale is the one that I'm very familiar with. Now, let me quickly show you the scale. Top part. Do you see this part here is measured in kilometers? And this part here is measured in miles. And we are not working with miles because that is part of the empirical measuring system. And we are working with kilometers, the metric measuring system. Right. So how do I work with a bar scale? I need to measure it. Again, zooming in for you guys. There we go. And now I'm going to measure it. That millimeter line, that first millimeter line, will line up exactly with that 0 there. lining that up very nice and neatly. Do you see? There we go. That line is exactly lined up there. Okay, now I need to measure. That is 10, that is 20. Okay, 21, 22, 23. Do you think it's 23? I think it's 23. I've measured 23 there. Yes, that is good. Okay, so we say 23. Yes, I'm happy with 23. Let me just sort out this blur. Okay, so what do we write as the scale? We write 23 millimeters on the map representing 80 kilometers in reality. That is our bar scale. And now we are saying we are going to calculate the actual distance. So this is the distance on the map, meaning I should put it there because it comes from the map and because my two units is the same. This side I put an X and I say 58 multiplied by 80. That is 4,640. X multiplied by 23. That is 23x. I divide by 23 on both sides. X remains. And this side 201,74 kilometers, because this gives me the answer that my distance is in kilometers. So there we have done a very nice example of using a bar scale with a calculation. Okay. 4.3.4. Determine the actual number of people living in the rural parts. Why does this sound so familiar? I read something in the story. They told me 4.1 million people is living in the Northwest. 3.6% of those people is from Potch, but the rest is living in the rural parts. So meaning that we should go and get the rural parts. So if a percentage is of 100 and 3.6% is from Potch, what is the remaining few from the rural? So we are saying 100 subtracted by 3.6, meaning 96.4% is of rural areas. Now, but we can't just have the percentage because they are saying the actual number of people. And this thing is counting 3 marks. Do you think you're getting 3 marks for this? No. So now we need to go and use the 4.1 million. So I can't say 4.1 million now. I need to write it out with all its zeros. So meaning I will write, and let's just quickly do it here. 4.1 million, meaning that it is 4 and then 6 zeros. So it's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. And then what about this one here? This one takes the place of the first zero. So I will say 4,100,000 multiplied by 96.4%. And if I multiply that, the answer I get is 3,952,400 people. And there we go. There is the answer. So they wanted the actual number, so I gave them the actual number and not the percentage. I needed to calculate the percentage first, but then I needed to do a further calculation to get to the actual number. Good. Right, let's have a look at the next question. The next question asks me, convert the land area of the Northwest Province to the nearest squared kilometer given. Oh, but there is that thing that they gave me the area of the province in miles. So that is why they gave it to me in miles, because they needed me to go and convert it to kilometers. So there is another sum where we started with conversions. Now we are again at conversions, and we now need to convert the 40,495 miles to kilometers. So I can just cross multiply, or you can do the method that you prefer. So we say x multiplied by 0.6 is 0.621371119x, and 40,000 multiplied by 1 is 40,495. I divide both sides by 0.621371119, and I remain with x equals to 65,170,38551 kilometers. Referring back to my question, looking at this word, the nearest, meaning I should round it to a whole number, and it will end as 65,170 squared kilometers is my area. Okay, so again, do you see? Full circle. We have started with conversions, and now we are again at conversions, just in a more formal setting. 4.3.6. Calculate the population density of the Northwest Province in people per square kilometer. You may use the following formula. So the population density is calculated by the population, and the population was calculated. The population is 4,100,000 divided by the area. Oh, the area we have just calculated. 65,170. So see how we are using the previous two questions answers to do the third answer. So saying 4,100,000 divided by 65,170, and we get to the answer of 62.91 people per squared kilometer. But I don't think we can leave the answer like this. Do you agree with me? And why? Because this is people, and we can't get people as comma numbers. So we will rather say 63 people per squared kilometer. And there we go. So really use your common sense when we are rounding. Ask yourself, is this money? Then it's 2 decimals. Is this measurements? Then it's 2 decimals, or as they have stated. If it is people, we always do round numbers. Okay. So please just be reminded of that. Let's work on one quick more map question that has some distance, time, and speed in as well. I think that is quite important. So 4.4. Jongi traveled from Kebega to Polokwane on vacation. Annexure C shows the direct route. Now let's Annexure C is close to Annexure A. Yes, yes. There is Annexure C. Okay. And I see the direct route is already drawn in Polokwane, Kebega. Okay. Study the information given in Annexure C and use it to answer the following questions. Right. The direct flight distance from Kebega to Polokwane is given as 1,186 kilometers. Determine the scale to the nearest million of the map in the format 1 to something. So this is in its unit form. Okay. Now, remember when it comes to maps or to scales, a scale is always written as a ratio. That is what's happening on the map to that is what's happening in reality. So, what is happening on the map? I don't know. Let's quickly measure that. Measuring on the map the direct flight distance. So I will take my ruler again, measuring in millimeters because millimeters is very accurate. I'm zooming in for you guys to quickly just see here. And I'm going to measure from basically where this arrow ends to where that arrow ends. Okay. Measuring that. There we go. There we go. Okay, lovely. What do you read that, or what do you read from your ruler? I see this is 110, that's 115, 16, 17, 18. Do you think it's 118 or do you think it's 119? Let's make it 119 because that line really measures up well. Okay, so again, when measuring things like this, please be as accurate as possible, but we do allow some deviation, but don't rely on the deviation, okay? Measure as accurately as possible. So if you maybe say it's 120, or if you maybe say it's 118, then it's fine. We can go with that, but I will do my calculations as 119 millimeters. And from reality, it is already measured for me 1,186 kilometers. Right. So now I need to firstly determine the scale in its unit form. If I have it in its unit form, I must round to the nearest million. But before I can do it in its unit form, my units is not the same, and my units is supposed to be the same. So I will remain with the millimeter on this side, but for the kilometer, I will convert it to millimeters. So from kilometers to millimeters, multiply by 1,000, multiply by 100, multiply by 10. And that gets me to 186, 1, 2, 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3 zeros. So this is basically 1,186 million millimeters. And do you see? Now my units is the same. So now I can go to unit form, meaning I should make this a 1. And how will I make this 119 a 1? I will divide by 119. So 119 divided by 119 is 1. And this 1 billion divided by 119 will be 9,966,386,555. See, now I somehow leave the units as well. I don't write the units again and again and again because the units is now the same, so I can just leave it as is. So now it's in its unit form. Now the last thing is I need to round it to the nearest million. This is your hundreds, this is your thousands, and this is your millions. So, does it lie closer to 10 million or 9 million? Look at this part here. What does this tell you? It tells you it will be 1 to 10 million. Just like that. Okay. Right. So we have done quite a nice lot on scales. And when we are referring to some scales from Mr. Snyder's work, there we go. There's a nice bar scale or a graphic scale, and he is showing you the advantages and the disadvantages of that. Let's discuss that now as well. I'm showing, or he's showing you some nice numerical scales and some calculations. So there's a few bar scales. Please go and have a look at that. There's a few application questions. So please have a look at that and go and work through that. Let's talk on scales, the advantages and disadvantages. The advantages of this bar scale is I can take this map and I can make it bigger to fit on one page. And the scale will remain exactly accurate because a bar scale can expand and shrink and the measurement will then be according to that. So that is its advantage. But you know what the disadvantage is? If I measure this scale incorrect, my whole sum will be incorrect. So that is the advantage and the disadvantage of a bar scale. When it comes to a numerical scale, it is exactly the opposite. The positive of the one is the negative of the other. For example, when I'm working with a numerical scale, for example, 1 to 200, this is already calculated for me. So I can't make a mistake by measuring either or. I can just continue with the calculation. But the disadvantage is if I have a scale or if I have a map with a scale like this, I can't enlarge the map or shrink the map because then the scale will become inaccurate. I don't know if they will ask it. There was one examination that they well did ask it, but you will need to know it. Right. Let's look at the next question. 442. It takes about 13.5 hours, which is also known as 13 hours and 30 minutes of driving time to cover the road distance of 1,405 kilometers from Gqeberha to Polokwane. Determine the average speed of the round trip of your answer to the nearest whole number. Now, let me just look at this question again. It takes about 13 hours and 30 minutes to cover the road distance of 1,405 kilometers from Gqeberha to Polokwane. So this is one way, right? Determine the average speed of the trip. Oh, okay. So just the one trip. Because you know what I was focusing on? A round trip, meaning that we are going from Gqeberha to Polokwane and again from Polokwane to Gqeberha. So just read carefully, is it a round trip or is it just a one-way trip? But in this case, it is a one-way trip. Now they're asking you to round off your answer to the nearest whole number. But now I'm looking at the formula, and this is not the formula I want. I want the other formula. But the marks here will be allocated to me if I get it or if I'm able to switch on the formula to get another variable. So let's have a look at the triangle with distance, time, and speed. And this is also very nicely done for you by Mr. Snyder in the package. Let's just have a look. There we go. Just make this a D for distance. There we go. Distance, time, and speed. Distance, time, and speed. Distance, time, and speed. Okay. So there's my distance, time, and speed triangle. And now I'm saying, oh, I need the speed. So I'm going to close off speed. Speed equals distance divided by time. And for me doing this, to change the subject of the formula, I will get a mark for this already. And now all I can do is I can just substitute it correctly. So the distance now is 1,405 kilometers divided by the time. And again here, I want you to be very careful. I have one method in doing this. I don't know what your method in doing this is, but keep with a method you are known with. So for this, I know you can put in 13,5 because it's given to you here. But what if it was given as 13 hours and 30 minutes? Then I would have put it in like this, 13 hours and 30 minutes, because I'll always put my minutes over 60. But again, go and have a look at this. The answer here is 104,0740741 kilometers per hour. They are asking me to round it off to the nearest, meaning that will be 104 kilometers per hour average traveling speed for their travels to or from Gqeberha to Polokwane. Right. Last calculation for maps. Then we switch on our chapters. So 4.4.3. According to the road safety regulation, a driver needs to rest 15 minutes for every 2 hours of driving. If Jongi suggests, as suggested, determine how long the journey will take him if the original estimated time of 13.5 hours did not include the resting time. Okay, so we need to add the resting time. So it means 2 hours gone, rest. 4 hours gone, rest. 2, 4, 6, rest. 8, rest. 10, rest. 12, rest again. And then the 13,5 will happen, and then he didn't need to rest again because that wasn't a full hour or 2 hours, and he is at his destination then. So how many times will he have rested? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So let's prove it mathematically. 13,5 hours divided by 2. That gets me to an answer of 6,75, meaning this 6 is the 6 times that he should rest. That 0.75 is related to that hour and a half that he needs to drive again before he reaches his destination, meaning so he will not be resting again because he have already reached his destination before the 2 hours have concluded. Right, so resting 6 times with 15 minutes each means that he will rest a total of 90 minutes. So now they want us to calculate this total traveling time with the rest and everything in. So 13 hours and 30 minutes, because that is what 13 hours, 5 or 13,5 hours is. And we can just add the 90 minutes. So let me show you on the calculator how I do this. So we say 13 hours. Let me just bring it into the light. There we go. 13 hours, 30 minutes, plus 0 hours, 90 minutes. My answer, 15 hours straight. So that will then end up as a 15-hour travel from Gqeberha to Polokwane. Right. Let's switch up to some packaging. Going on to some packaging. Bedroom 2 will be used to store boxes of papers for printing purposes. As shown in the picture below, 20% of the space on each side will not be used. Oh, okay, I see. This part here is 20% and this part here is 20%. So will not be used, allowing movement when packing or unpacking the boxes. Okay, so people will move here to pack the boxes because this is where the boxes will be stacked, right? Okay, now I see there's the rotated or the Typex paper that is being stacked, and there is the dimensions, the measurements of the box. So the length, the width, and the height in centimeters. Now they are giving me the dimensions of 2 bedrooms. But I don't know that this is about 2 bedrooms. So which one will I choose? I will be choosing bedroom 2. So I'll not be choosing the master bedroom, but rather be choosing bedroom 2. There's the length, there's the width, and there's the height of the room. Right, so let's read 5.1.1. One of the employees stated that they would be able to stack 7 layers of boxes in the bedroom. Verify using calculations whether the statement is valid. What did we say about verify? We said you are supposed to do a sum and a sentence. So let's start with the sum. So 7 layers on top of each other, meaning we are working with height. The height, now I'm asking you to do packaging. I always ask myself, which is larger, the room or the box? The room, right? So I'll start with the height of the room, 2,4 meters, divided by, what's the height of the box? 31,8 centimeters. Can I do this calculation? Absolutely not, because my units is not the same. I must change the units up to be the same, so I'll make this 240 centimeters divided by 31,8 centimeters. If I divide these two, I get to 7,547. And now we need to know the rules of rounding when it comes to packaging. What amount will I choose? Will I choose 7 boxes or will I choose 8 boxes? The number of boxes I'm choosing will be 7 because This means 7 boxes will fit, and then there will be space for about a half a box, but you can't make the box fit there. So you will say there will be 7 boxes. So we actually need to remember when it comes to packaging, we need to round, literally rounding down. Okay. Looking at the next time for packaging, they are telling me here, calculate the maximum number of boxes that can be packed in this bedroom if the boxes are packed lengthwise along the width of the bedroom and the width of the boxes along the length of the bedroom. Okay, so this is quite complicated. It's not as nice as we have practiced before, that it is length, and breadth. But rather, if you are looking at the room, the length of the room and the width of the room, we are packing the boxes like this. The width of the box and the length of the room. So for the length of the room, the width is going to be to that side. So I think this is quite important for you to read for packaging to make sure that you have the correct way of packaging it. And now, before we can start, what did we read that is important? We read about the 20%, the 20% space that needs to be there. So let's start with the length of the room. The length of a room, according to this table, is 3 meters. Okay, so 3 meters, I can't pack the whole 3 meters. I need to only pack 80% of it. So I can't use the 20%. So I'll just calculate 80% of the room. 80% of the room will end up as 2,4 meters. Okay, so now let's do the length. So we say the room is 2,4 meters divided by, so I'm using the length of the room, so I must now refer to the width of the box, and the width of the box is 23 centimeters. So again, my unit is not the same. I will make this 240 centimeters. 240 centimeters divided by 23 centimeters. That gets me to 10,4347. My answer, 10 boxes. Let's do the breadth of the room or the width of the room. So again, the width of the room is 2,6 meters. I can't use the whole 2,6 meters. I can only use 80% for packaging because 20% is for the walkway. So that will be 2,08 meters to be used for packaging. 2,08 meters divided by 28 centimeters, which is, remember, we are working with the width of the room, so we are referring to the length of the box. The length of the box is 28 centimeters, so that is why I'm using 28, but my unit is not the same, so I say 208 centimeters divided by 28 centimeters. My answer, 7,428. Answer, 7 boxes. So, answering the question for the maximum number of boxes will be length multiplied by width multiplied by height. The answer, 490 boxes, will be able to be packaged in that room. Right. Okay, people, we are now at the last section of this session, and we are at plans, assembly diagrams, and instructions. And I think this is, in my opinion, the easiest one to do. This is all just written there, and you need to know and use your general knowledge to just answer the simple questions that is given to you here. So let's have a look. The diagram below shows a two-door cabinet and a list of hardware that is needed for the assembly. The steps for assembling the book cabinet is provided below. Okay, so there is the steps for assembling. Now, I see that there is a few things that you need extra. 6.1.1 tells us give one reason why a helper is listed under tools required. See there, a helper is listed. Why do we need a helper? To give tools to help hold or move the cabinet when they are done building it. So that is exactly just what it states, to help someone while he or she is busy building it. Okay, even to give on some or to give some tools or parts to help that person. Right, one is reading, one is building. Example. Okay, 6.1.2. Identify the tool that can be used to remove the cam pins and turning cam locks. Right, so what tool is mentioned here? Very easy, a Phillips screwdriver. There we go. See, everything I have just read off the instructions there. Now, for the last time, let's do a quick calculation using a formula. The calculation is, the diagram below shows a 3D view of the cabinet with a length of 700 millimeters, a width of 350 millimeters, and a height of 690 millimeters. Use the information given above to calculate the total surface area in squared centimeters of the outside of the bookcase, including the bottom part. And here we have the formula to do exactly that. So let's start. But before we can, what is this? This is, we need to calculate the area in centimeters. So can I use this units that is given here? No, I need to convert everything to centimeters before I start. Now we have done a lot of conversions, so I'll just give it to you this time. We are following the formula to bracket the length 70, multiply by the width 35, close the bracket. Add 2, open the bracket, length 70, multiply height 69, close the bracket. Add 2, the width 35, multiply the height 69, close. Do you see? The formula looks exactly the same after I have substituted it with the correct values. You must really concentrate when you are doing that. When you put this into your calculator, also please make sure that you put it in correctly. Where it is addition, put addition. Where it is multiplication, put multiplication. Your answer, 19,319 squared centimeter. And that is, as it is, the answer for the outer surface area of that bookcase. Right. And this is where we come to an end. I would like to wish you good luck with the further preparations, not only for your mathematical literacy, but also for the rest of your subjects. Best of luck, and may all the effort you put in be shown on your matric final certificate when you get it in January. Best of luck. And yes, thank you to the teachers also for putting the time and effort in for this session. Oortjies.